In this video, we're going to take a look at how to solve inequalities. And just like with equations, there's one-step inequalities and there's two-step inequalities. Your overall goal remains the same as when this was an equal sign. So when you first start off, you're going to look for your variable x and determine what number needs to be eliminated so that x can be isolated on one side of your symbol. And in this first example, we have the positive 8. In order to eliminate positive 8, I would subtract 8. And whatever I do on the left, I'm going to come over and do on the right. So on the left side, I'm left with x. On the right side, I'm left with 10. And instead of having an equal sign in the middle, I keep the symbol that was given to me in the original question. So the solution here would be greater than or equal to 10. In order to graph this in a number line, I'm going to find 10 on my number line. And keep in mind that since this is greater than or equal to, I'm going to put a circle that's circled in above 10. And since it's greater than, I'm going to draw an arrow that goes to the larger numbers. And that shows the reader that this inequality has answers that are either 10 or bigger. Here's another one step. Negative 7 plus x is greater than or equal to negative 8. So I want to get x by itself, so I'm going to add 7 to this side. The negative 7 and the positive 7 pair off to make a 0. I'll add 7 to the right-hand side. On the left, I'm left with x. I bring down my symbol greater than or equal to. And on the right, I'm left with negative 1. So I find negative 1 on my number line. Again, this inequality symbol tells me that negative 1 is a possible answer, so I color in my circle. Greater than or equal to comes to the right. This next example is showing me a division problem, and I know the opposite or the inverse of dividing is multiplying. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 5. The 5 will cancel out on the left-hand side and leave me with an n. I'll bring down my symbol less than or equal to, and the product of 2 and 5 is 10. To graph this inequality, I will find 10 on the number line. Again, the symbol tells me that 10 is a possible solution, so I color that circle in. Less than goes to the left because it points towards the lower numbers. Here's where inequalities can be a little bit tricky. You have to be very, very careful. When you are solving an equation that requires multiplication and division, if the number that you multiply or you divide by is negative, when you write your answer, the inequality sign flips to face the other direction. So I start off like I would any other problem. Negative 4 and m are being multiplied. The inverse is to divide by negative 4. Whatever I do on the left, I do on the right. Now looking here, I know that I just divided by a negative. So this sign is going to come down and flip to be the reverse. I'm left with m on the left, and the quotient of negative 4 and negative 4 is 1. When I graph my inequality, I'll find positive 1, closed circle because it's also equal to, and I'm going to go to the left for less than because I follow the new sign that I put in my solution. One more example. Again, you're going to notice that I'm dividing by a negative here. So divide by negative 4 on the left, divide by negative 4 on the right. I'm left with r. I divided by a negative, so my sign flips. 16 divided by negative 4 is negative 4. Now this time, r is only less than negative 4. Negative 4 itself is not an answer. So to show that, I'm going to leave an open circle on the number line, and less than comes to the left. Just like with equation, we also have two-step inequalities, and you can start off two-step inequalities just like you did with equations. We draw our party house. The variable lives in this house. The 2 is by himself. He leaves first, so we subtract 2. Subtract 2 from the other side. And after this first step, I'm left with the quotient of n and 3 is greater than -2. Since n is not by itself yet, I know that I'm not finished. The opposite of division is multiplication, so I multiply by 3. And I'm going to think to myself, am I multiplying by a negative number? Because I know if I am, then I have a special step. But that 3 that I just multiplied by is positive, so I don't have to worry about flipping my sign. So I'm going to bring it down as a greater than sign. The n comes down, and the product of -2 and +3 makes -6. So I'll find -6 on my number line. N is greater than -6, so -6 is not included as an answer. So I put an open circle above -6, and we go to the right for greater than. Okay, and let's do one more example here. We'll get this out of the way. So -2r minus 2 is less than or equal to 4. So again, I could draw my house. Sort of a funny looking house. The -2 is here by itself, so I'm going to add 2 to get rid of it. If I add 2 on the left, I have to add 2 on the right. So after this first step, we are left with -2r is less than or equal to 6. -2 and r are being multiplied. The inverse is to divide. And I notice that I'm dividing by a negative number. Since I'm dividing by a negative number, my inequality sign will flip to face the opposite direction. So it's now a greater than or equal to. On the left, we're left with r. On the right, we're left with -3. When I graph my inequality, I use this new symbol. So I find -3. It's greater than or equal to, so the circle is filled in, and it goes to the right for greater than.